Hi there. Today it's a year since I left England to come and live in Finland. I thought I'd shoot this in a tiny little copse near the house. Um, what sort of things have I noticed in terms of differences and similarities between living in Britain and living in Pori in southwest Finland? So the first kind of difference I would say is like the climate here. You definitely have four seasons, and compared to the UK, you have a lot more days where there's no clouds in the sky, so a lot more blue sky. In the winter, that normally means cold temperatures. I don't know, minus 15. I think the lowest it got last winter was minus 26 on one day. But then the flip side of that is that you have these long hot summers. And something that was actually very, very nice was being able to go to the beach in the evening time and still be sunbathing at 9:30, quarter to 10 at night. And the sun wouldn't really go down at all. It'd be daylight 24 hours a day. So that's something that's very, very different compared to the UK. And also it tends to be less rainy. I know that won't come as a surprise to a lot of foreigners, because Britain's got this well-deserved reputation of being very, very wet. And when things do get wet here, it's normally because the weather's coming from the west, it's coming across the Atlantic. Um, Another thing that's quite interesting here is food. Much better quality ingredients. It's quite depressing, really, when I think back about the quality of food that I was eating in the UK. Supermarket food, I think, when it got better in the 1990s, but then I think as Britain's real incomes fell, we were getting sort of third-rate food sold in shops. So what you see here is you get really, really good stuff. Also, a lot of it is grown locally here, even things like tomatoes. The food tastes of stuff here because it's not being transported massive different distances. And then the other thing, I guess, is the supply chains. The food supply chains are extremely reliable. So there's no food shortages in here, or you can buy anything you want to. Also, things seem to be getting better here rather than worse. So, like 10, 15 years ago, the market for like beer and stuff, it was oligopolistic, a bit like Britain, really. Just a handful of big firms dominating. Now you go to a supermarket and it's packed full of small, local, independent craft brewers who produce absolutely fantastic products because, drum roll, there's cutthroat competition, and if your stuff isn't good, you're not going to survive. The other thing as well that's I find quite interesting is Finns have got this love for pizza. So whether you want Neapolitan pizza or whether you prefer Romano pizza, we've got tons and tons of different choices. Absolutely fantastic, top rate pizza, which was very, very difficult to get in the UK. Really, really difficult to get a proper Neapolitan pizza. I give you Pizza Express. It's just like absolutely dire and massively overpriced. Um, Something else that's quite interesting is taxation. So Finland's got this reputation as being high tax. The reality of it is nuanced. Indirect taxes might be a little bit higher, but then again, it's difficult to tell because you are getting much better quality. Food might cost a little bit more, but it's like, say, for example, the meat. It's just like night and day compared to Britain. I remember buying Tesco, or not Tesco, Sainsbury's organic mince, and it's just like loads and loads of gristle in it and stuff like that. Even if you buy basic mince from here, beef mince, it's top quality. Everything is top quality. Um, yeah. So the other thing as well though is property taxes. So in England, before I left, I was paying £2,000 a year in council tax for like living in a crappy 2-bedroomed house. It's tiny, tiny 2-bedroomed house. Here, property taxes are like 300 quid a year, so they virtually don't exist. And that's to live in a 4-bedroom detached house. And then also, the services work here, So again, like the road surfaces are fantastic. There's no potholes. There's cycle paths everywhere. There's fantastic swimming pools that are clean and tidy. It's all fantastic in that regard. Top quality education, obviously. So I think the other thing as well that a lot of Brits don't understand about Finland is that they sort of think it's sort of socialist or communist or something like that. I would definitely disagree with that. From what I see here, Finns are far more individualistic, and they don't depend on the state as much. Finns have got a little bit more self-respect about them, and they see it as being their job to be in control of their own life. They don't really delegate that to the state, and that they understand that they've got their own risk appetite, which for many Finns is quite high. Especially kids. They just kids on bicycles, they, they love like pulling wheelies, or it might be the girls cycling with no hands whilst on their mobile phone talking to their mate. It's just ridiculous stuff. And then also, you've got school children. There's a primary nearby where I live, and you've got 7, 8, 9-year-olds just coming and going as they please. No helicopter parenting. Quite often, late at night, maybe 8 o'clock, you see like 10, 12-year-olds out and about with their mates, socializing. And these are valuable skills that I guess I developed as a kid when this was socially acceptable in the UK. Like, you learn how to resolve conflicts between you and your mates, because there was no parents or school teachers doing that for you. You had to get on with it and sort out your difficulties, which sets you up for adult life. At the school I used to work at, if there was student A abused social B on social media, or they just said some bad words about them, it was up to you to sort that out yourself. Whereas, back in the UK, members of staff would get involved, and they would bring people in, and parents, and mountains were made from molehills, and then also, you're just depriving kids of crisis resolution skills. So that's something that's really, really struck me about living here, is that kids have real freedom to explore and learn and develop. So I guess once you get to 17 or 18, Finnish young people, they're kind of fully fledged adults, and they're independent. I think that's a good word to describe them. Finns are very, very independent. That they used to, again, with the school system, there's not really any pastoral care here. Finns just as expected to get on with it, take responsibility. If they don't do well in their exams, guess what? It's their fault, and they're supposed to try better and figure out what went wrong and put it right. So all of that, you'll never develop maturity unless you're given responsibility, and that's what the Finns do, that we should be going back to in the UK. Another thing as well is like the role of women in society. So back in Britain, you had these trophy wives. Even some of them that were working in the girls' independent school that I worked in. Tottering around in their high heels with just dressing up like sex objects. And then going on and on and on about gender equality. Well, guess what? There's real gender equality in Finland, from what I've seen. So for example, in May, I was cycling to the beach, and I went past this house with a big garden, whatever, and it was quite warm. It was like mid-20s, and there was this sort of blonde, statuesque Finnish woman with a bikini on, mowing her lawn. And I just thought to myself, wow, you wouldn't see that in England. You know, what you would see in the part of Surrey that I lived in was, you know, maybe some Bulgarian doing it, some Bulgarian bloke, whilst, you know, the go-ahead third way feminist would be sort of sat inside drinking wine or shagging their tennis coach or something like that, whilst their loser husband was working all the hours in the city and maybe doing a bit of coke and seeing some prostitutes. You know, that's gender equality kind of Surrey style. Um, I've had various things delivered here, quite bulky things like a massive big wood burner, and I bought a couple of pallets of beer that I wanted, and those were delivered to me by, you know, in massive trucks. Guess what? Driven by, yeah, women, and they were, you know, basically getting the stuff off the truck, you know, with those like, you know, pallet movers and stuff like that. Of course, I helped them and stuff, but you know, women here, they really do believe in equality. Like, you know, it's not kind of seen as being unfemale, like to do to be an engineer or to do anything that they want to do. So whereas I think in Britain, feminism is more like, yeah, let's wear high heels and short skirts and do fuck all with our lives, and then kind of moan to men about the choices that we've made. And I suppose, is there any similarities? Well, from what I see, um, Finland's sort of changing in the same way that Britain changed, and it sort of the changes tend to emanate out of the capital region. You know, so in Helsinki, that whole region, you know, the kind of woke culture is taking hold there, and you know you see a few more sort of soy boy men, um, and things start to, you know, society starts to break down there. You know, that part of Finland, I wouldn't want to live in that part. It's got all the same kind of crime, lack of trust, just a mess, basically, ugly mess. Whereas if you come out into the regions, you know, it, you know, it's still a pretty good, a really good place to live. Traditional values, um, no crime to speak of, high levels of trust. And I guess that's the same as what happened in England, you know, and it's slowly spreading from London, you know. So if you go to, I don't know, like up north, Lancaster, Newcastle, places like that, you know, life is still pretty good in England. But I don't know, maybe if you go where I was, Guildford, even Bournemouth, you know, it's just going to be populated, or Brighton, it's just going to be populated by just these kind of ultra extremist far left wokesters who believe that, you know, that you should have, all you should do is just obediently follow the rules and follow, you know, just no free speech, everyone's got to speak woke, and you know, that's not for me at all. So yeah, a year on, and yeah, I'm really enjoying life here. So a bit of blue sky for you as well, tiny little bit, although it's a bit cloudy, but which is unusual. So anyway, God bless you all, and see you again.